This store came about because of Hurricane Katrina.
Oh my gosh.
Because A, we survived. I was one of the people that was on the interstate evacuating for Katrina, and it was a long parking lot.
So this doesn't seem like your average bike shop. The place is filled with some of the most unique and interesting bikes I've really seen. And it looks like a collection of two-wheeled art. So this is Larry Lagarde, the owner and the vision of this store. So Larry, how and why did this store come about?
Because of Katrina, I saw it as a life-altering moment. There were people that had pulled off the road, families. They were out of gas, so they had some kind of breakdown. And it was just a horrible situation, and it imprints on you this memory of, I don't want that to happen to me ever, right? So then I realized it could be really useful to have a folding bike if there's an emergency. I have owned folding bikes for longer than I want to care people to know. But over here we have the Bromptons, and my first folding bike was a 𝙏𝙤𝙢𝙢𝙥𝙨. I know the 𝙏𝙤𝙢𝙢 people probably love that. It showed me that a folding bike can work for its intended purpose, which my big thing is I love to travel. So I wanted a bike that could go with me anywhere I went. I got a Montague, personal Montagues here. The Montague is a full-size bike that folds in half. When I started my bike shop, this was one of the bikes that I started it with. This was designed for the military. If it's good enough for the military, if we have another Katrina and people can't get around, this is something that they can keep in their car. And they'll be able to get around if they're caught somewhere, their car isn't working, they're out of gas, whatever it is.
Where does this fold? I don't even see where it would fold.
So this is the folding hinge. Now this is an older Montague. They have redesigned it, but this is the lock, and then you have bearings here and down here. So when you unlock it, the top tube swings back.
Oh, okay.
And then what you do is you remove the front wheel so that the folding footprint is like that.
I see, okay. I see.
The bike came into being because of a grant from DARPA. The military wanted a bike that special forces could strap to their chest and parachute out of a plane with. But that was robust enough that regardless what theater they're in, whether they're on the beach, in a jungle, in the desert, the bike could be used. The way that the soldiers jumped with these bikes is they jump out of the plane with the bike strapped to their chest right here in front. So they're parachuting down. And then as they get close to the ground, they pulled a ripcord, and that released the bike onto a drop line. So the bike hits the ground first, and then the soldier lands, and that prevents the soldier from getting injured from the weight of the bike.
That is so fascinating, Larry. A very unique bike store. I haven't seen anything like this before.
But that's why you see folding bikes here besides other bikes, because the concept of the shop was to provide people with bikes that were fun, but that they could also use in emergency. I've sold these to people who live in the Northwest and were worried about a big earthquake up there, as well as like the new Madrid fault in the St. Louis area. Same thing. I had officers who were fighting in Afghanistan when the U.S. military was there, and they would have me ship these to them so that they could get their workouts in while they're at the forward operating base.
This bike shop caters to, it sounds like emergency, but it also it caters to the streets of New Orleans, correct?
This was 20 years ago,
yes.
Right? At the time, I was thinking emergencies because I just came out of a huge emergency, one of the biggest disasters ever to befall an American city that had colored why I was doing this. I had a mission. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to make sure that if ever something like this happened again, I could offer my customers something that they would have as preparation.
Right, but in the meantime, there's no emergency.
Yeah. So the shop has grown. The city started coming back to the point where it could support a bike shop down here. I opened the bike shop with the intention to offer tourists a unique way to get around the city, bike tours, bike rentals, but also bikes that locals could use. I have experimented with a variety of bikes over the years. There were other bike shops that were doing race bikes and mountain bikes, so I didn't feel the need to really move into those niches. They were already covered. but nobody was doing folding bikes, and I love folding bikes. I have a real passion for them. And early on, I developed a passion for e-bikes. So the way that came about is there is a company called Pacific Cycles. There are actually two companies called Pacific Cycles. One makes Walmart-grade bikes, and the other one makes really high-end bikes. The bottom line is this is one of their bicycles, and they invited me to Taiwan. So I actually was given a tour of their facility and spent some time there with the owner of the company and his family. It was really cool. But consequently, I got to see what was coming out. And one of the bikes that was coming out was a folding e-bike. I wanted to offer that because there are people that want to ride a bike, but they're not physically able. Either they're not in shape or whatever. And I thought, oh, well, this is great. This offers a whole nother group of people an opportunity to ride a bike. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about older adults. I was just thinking about people that hadn't really gotten into biking and they were not sure themselves. And at the beginning, the bikes were just very basic motors, small motors. It was truly electric assist. That's how I got to know Pacific. If you look around me, almost all the bikes in the shop now are electric. There are some that aren't. So these bikes from Reed's an Australian brand. Those are pedal bikes, but they make e-bikes. In fact, I have one or two in here. These Bromptons are not electric, but this Brompton is. This is a Brompton G line.
Oh, you got a Brompton G. Lucky you.
Electric G.
Can you talk about some of these e-bikes down here? They got the essence of a motorcycle look. So very unique. I don't think I've ever seen.
I'm sure you have. The bikes that you see angled, all of these bikes are from a company out of Barcelona, Spain called Rayvolt.
Oh.
I am the agent for Rayvolt, and they have been making bikes for coming up on 10 years. Rayvolt, like rays of the sun and voltage, because all their bikes are e-bikes. The brand was started by a surfer, and I have one of his prototypes.
Oh, cool.
This was one of the bikes that the man who started the company was living in San Diego, and all his friends were surfers. And San Diego can have surf, but there are days when it doesn't. He spent some time in Indonesia, and in Indonesia they have these really wild motorcycle things that are scooters, really. But the Indonesians tricked them out. And he saw some that kind of look steampunky, like old school motorcycles from the 1920s. He said, you know, if somebody made an e-bike like it, that'd be pretty cool. And so he decided he was going to be the one to do it since somebody was doing it. He made it for himself. He used it while he was in San Diego to pull his friends along the beach when there was no surf.
Oh.
So guess who the first people to buy them were? Surfers.
Surfers. That is awesome.
And so the way that I came across this was, it was Mardi Gras. A guy that I'd never seen before walked in with this California accent, and he said, I just want to say that I bet you I have the coolest e-bike you've ever seen. Now, you know, people say silly things, and I said, sure, bring it on. Let me see what you got. I bought his bike.
Oh my! Now, how much are these bikes?
They range from $2,000 on up, depending on the model.
Okay, that's not awful for an e-bike at all. I was thinking something more astronomical.
No, between 2 and 5. But also, if you look at them, there are elements that are very steampunk, like the copper finish elements, right, and the leather.
And so, how fast do they go?
It depends on the bike. These bikes are unique, not just in appearance, but also the technology that's used, because they do have Bluetooth built in, and there's an app for them. So with the app, he wanted the bike to be legal anywhere in the world, and he designed the app so that you can dial in the legal requirements in the country that you're in, and the bike will automatically perform to that level. So if there's a country where there's no limitations, no class 1, 2, or 3, which is a unique United States thing, you could do 40 miles an hour on some of these. But at the same time, they are completely legal anywhere if you dial it in.
I have not found a bike shop like this in my area.
So this is the value of having local bike shops that are locally owned. Whenever you walk into a local bike shop, unless it's a flagship Trek or Cannondale store or Giant, whatever, you're going to see an extension of that owner. You know, what they're into, their philosophy, whatever they're thinking. Because the truth is that bike shops don't make a ton of money. Bike shops are businesses. They have to survive. They have to make a profit in order to continue. But at the same time, these are not places where someone is going to become a truly wealthy individual and own a yacht or whatever you want to associate with that. So I do this as a labor of love. I love bicycles, so this is actually a joy for me, you know? It's not always about the money. And frankly, I wish our culture in the United States was more European in that, you know, you can be driven, but at the same time, you need to have a love for whatever's driving you to really have a good mental attitude. I'm getting into foolishness when I say
no,
all these,
absolutely
maybe.
not. No,
but this is my thought.
To tears, I love it. It's so emotional. It is so true what you say.
That's a definite.